Welcome to the Geek 101 podcast, episode 262, live from Comic-Con 2020. Today is a very special episode where we will be talking about the very unique stay-at-home Comic-Con that we've all been through this crazy year. I'm Ariel Rada.
And I'm Andy Bowman.
This is just one big news episode. We have one of these a year, Andy, and this one is particularly special because there was no physical Comic-Con. These were all kind of just announcements. And was it like live YouTube panels?
A lot of live YouTube panels that apparently didn't do too well. They averaged like 15,000 viewers for the panels, which was not up to expectations.
No, I think they approached it wrong. They were doing like, did they do like panels where there was like a moderator on Zoom and talking to people?
I believe so.
They should have just done like almost like AMA Twitch streams. You know?
Yeah.
I think that maybe would have worked better.
It feels like this con is run by people who think they know what they could do to transfer everything online and just want to transfer the same format, but do not understand that being online actually gives you access to many new formats.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of when we watched Ready Player One, where you watch it and you're like, this person, Steven Spielberg, right, thinks he knows what video games are like today, but actually has no idea what people playing video games like. We talked about the scene where he like drives backwards, and nobody had tried that for like 20 years. The reality would be people would try that on the second day.
Absolutely, like that. You know, even if there was like some big cost to entering the race, right? Like you basically lose like $10,000 of car parts or whatever if you risk getting in the race. There would be like one streamer who's like, I spent $15,000 to troll this race,
right? Or some Twitch streamer would, pay them to, or some audience would pay them to. It is so weird. You know what else is weird in Ready Player One? There is no live stream aspect that they introduce into it.
Right. It's almost like the book was made before live streaming was popular.
I mean, it was.
They didn't. I know, but they didn't bother updating that aspect of it.
Yeah. Well, the book was like, I understand the concept of like how he wrote the book, but I don't know. The movie doesn't understand modern day gaming culture, and apparently neither do the creators of this event here. So let's get into all of this news. I don't know how long this episode is going to be. There is a lot of news. It's all trailers and announcements and almost exclusively TV. Yeah.
A lot of TV. For some reason, Ariel, the movie companies don't want to hype up movies when they do not know when they're actually coming out.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about one of the few movies on this list. This is probably the last time we'll be talking about this movie until it actually comes out. New Mutants had the first 2 minutes of its film released online officially, not like some sort of hack. Andy, did you watch this?
I did not watch the 2 minutes, but I did watch the trailer.
Okay.
They put out another trailer, and wow, looks kind of cool still.
I am sold on this. I am even more sold when they announced that the director, whose name escapes me at the moment, was going to have like free reign. Josh Boone, right? Who was like a horror director. He was going to be allowed to, instead of like reshooting everything with a different director, they just said, you know what? We're going to cut our losses and display the cut that this guy wanted to make. Even if that's bad, I trust that process more than what we get with Justice League and apparently the Daredevil TV show, if you saw what was happening in the news this week with that. So the less studio interference, the more interested I am in seeing a vision for a project.
Yeah. I mean, it looks so different from anything that the MCU has done. It looks different from what anything X-Men has done. I'm really hopeful that this is good. It does have a runtime of only 94 minutes, which that's not ideal historically for superhero movies.
Sure, but is it? But how does that affect like a horror movie?
Right. Exactly. But for like superhero movies, etc., and knowing the Hollywood business here, when they cut movies down that low, it's because they want to do as many showings as possible on opening weekend.
Okay,
right? Like,
okay,
it's just a question here. Like other movies that are about that long that have come out recently, like Fan Four Stick or Artemis Fowl, like it usually leaves a bad taste in people's mouth. Now, if this means that it doesn't overstay its welcome, awesome. But it does have a pretty big cast. And
sure.
I'm worried about that.
Okay, I'm going to do some quick checking here. The runtime... Okay. Fan Four Stick was how long?
Like 90 minutes. Exactly.
An hour 47.
Okay, it's longer than I thought it was.
Yeah, me too. Let's look up Josh Boone's previous films. He's done The Fault in Our Stars.
Yeah.
Don't remember him directing that. Okay, I mean, we'll see. I don't know how long the movie should be. What is the budget here for New Mutants?
Dude, we have no idea, and it's been reshot and held for so long that
it'd be inflated. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. The plot seems very not simple, but straightforward in a sense.
I will say it. Like, I am excited for this. This is probably... I'm more excited for this than I am for Black Widow.
Oh, yeah. Me too. Even if it's the sense of just curiosity.
Yeah, exactly. I finally want to see this movie. It's been well over a year and a half since it was supposed to come out. I want to know, and I also want to know if we can expect a sequel that Josh Boone's kind of discussed and said it would be very reminiscent of the Claremont run.
Okay, yeah. I'm very interested in this. I'd like to very much watch it. I did not watch the new trailer or the 2-minute thing because I want to watch this movie. To me, movie trailers have gotten a little out of hand. But let's move on here, Andy. Can you tell us what the next piece of news is? Next.
Yeah. So Fox put out a trailer for a limited event series called Next, spelled capital NE, capital XT. It seems like a what would happen if Alexa went wrong kind of series. It stars John Slattery, who everyone will recognize from Mad Men and every movie. He's a very recognizable character actor, but he plays a guy who created an Alexa-like AI, and now that AI is going crazy. And it looks like kind of like the first few days of Skynet. Like, I can almost see the last episode just based solely on this trailer, where they're like, "Well, John Slattery, what was the original name of your project?" "I was going to call it Skynet." and then you dun 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 dun, and Arnold shows up or something. Like, I don't know. It feels like that kind of thriller. I'm kind of interested in it because it's, AI gone wrong, and oh boy, AI gone wrong. That's not relevant at all today.
I'm not going to watch this. AI gone wrong is actually, to me, like, so overdone. You have all the Terminators, you have Ex Machina, you have Upgrade, you have Ultron, you have countless books about it. It's like, and the way that like I read an article on it, and the writer was just like, yeah, my kids were using their Alexa, and he said the Alexa spoke in the middle of the night. And I'm just like, this sounds exactly like a 50-year-old man who doesn't know how technology works writing about technology.
Right. Fun part here, actually. John Slattery, everyone who's listening to the podcast will know him as Howard Stark.
Yeah. Do you prefer him as Howard Stark or Dominic Cooper as Howard Stark?
Honestly, I really like Dominic Cooper.
Have you seen... Go ahead. No, go
Have I
ahead.
seen what? I think Slattery does the older Stark very well. The business centered Stark who has a little bit of sentimentality to him, right? Like there's a very big dichotomy here with Dominic Cooper is the younger pre-Tony Howard Stark, I think.
Yeah, I never liked how Dominic Cooper's Howard Stark was not as arrogant as John Slattery's.
Yeah.
Did you watch Agent Carter?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Everyone I know who likes Dominic Cooper better watches Agent Carter. And everyone I know who doesn't watch Agent Carter likes Slattery better.
I really see Dominic Cooper for me now is just Jesse from Preacher. Like he fit that role so well. I really forgot that he played Howard Stark. I know he played him in the Captain America as well, but also the last scene with Howard Stark in Endgame was really touching. I thought, and I'm always going to remember that scene specifically.
Sure, yeah. The next piece of news we have another trailer for Lovecraft Country, which is about the intersection of like H.P. Lovecraft's horror science fiction and racism in the United States during the Jim Crow era. It's based off of a book. It is produced by Jordan Peele, and it has a showrunner named Misha Green. I am super interested in this. I watched the trailer. It's the first trailer I've seen. Misha Green is a black woman, for those of you who don't know. I'm super interested in this, Andy. What are your thoughts on it?
I'm super interested in this because anything that Jordan Peele puts his name on, great. It's HBO, also great. I will actually be doing the book for my other podcast, Monkey Off My Backlog, on the August 16th episode because, it's been on my list for a while, and I finally have reason to watch it. So we'll be doing an entire cosmic horror themed episode in 2 weeks. I didn't watch this trailer because it's in 2 weeks.
Sure. I am a little more wary of the book. The author's a white man. So I'm not, like, I don't want that opinion of racism in America, especially racism towards black people.
Well, I will say I would think that Jordan Peele might have filtered and adapted appropriately.
Well, yes, and not just Jordan Peele. I think we have to give credit to Misha Green, who is the showrunner. I hate the glorification of the executive producer because we don't know what that position does, right? We don't. It's a nebulous title that some people use to get paid, some people use for promotion, and some people use to actually help with the work. You watch something like District 9 and you see Peter Jackson's name on it, and you're like, yeah, he probably helped with that. You watch something like, what's that? The Book of Life. Have you seen that?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. So there are certain things in that where you're like, yeah, Guillermo del Toro definitely helped. But then if you looked at like Steven Spielberg's executive producer credits, you're like, dude, you didn't work on 80% of these. They just paid you to slap your name on it. That's why I want to credit, Misha Green for her work, should this be great. And of course, I'd like to see what this looks like from a black woman's perspective and not a white man's perspective.
Absolutely. I will say I also just the visual flair of it looks absolutely beautiful.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm sold. Ariel, I hope we can do an episode on it.
Yeah.
Just like a Should You Watch.
Yeah, for sure. Lovecraft Country. Andy, what's next?
Okay. There was a weird trailer called Arch Enemy, which is a film starring Joe Manganiello. Fans will know him either from True Blood, where he plays the werewolf, or they will also know him as Deathstroke. Anyway, Arch Enemy is a movie about... It's an adaptation of a comic book called Legion M. I don't know anything about Legion M. But the plot is that Max Fist, great name, starting out, who claims to be a hero from another dimension who fell through time and space to Earth, but he has no powers. No one believes his stories except for a local teenager named Hamster. The trailer looks kind of cool. It looks very thriller-esque. I can almost see Jason or Barenthal from Punisher playing this character instead.
Okay.
I'm interested in this. It didn't give me nearly enough information, but I like the idea of doing more indie and obscure comics and translating those into films. And this seems exactly like that. So I'm cool with this. Arch Enemy, that's all we know. It comes out in 2021.
This reminds me a lot of Defendor, which is Woody Harrelson being like a vigilante, thinks he's a superhero. Super with Rainn Wilson, guy who thinks he's a super. Just the concept, right? But I don't know. It seems like this could be different from both of those two things. I don't know.
Oh, okay. So I actually want to completely update. I thought it was Legion M was the movie, but apparently it is the company. And Legion M is, according to Wikipedia, the world's first fan-owned entertainment company.
That's not a positive.
Right. But here are some other movies that they've put out. They put out the amazing documentary Memory: The Origins of Alien. They put out the movie Mandy with Nicolas Cage. They also put out Colossal with Anne Hathaway and Jason Sudeikis.
I've heard that was good.
Yeah. They also put out the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, which whatever. I'm hopeful about this. I'm hopeful about this. Apparently, Arch Enemy is not based on any prior property, which makes me feel a lot better about not knowing anything about it.
Okay.
But Max Fist, I mean, that's cool, and Joe Manganiello. Yeah. So that's cool. Look into it. At the very least, it could be interesting. So. I apologize for my previous misstatement that Legion M was a comic series.
Many people would know Joe Manganiello, of course, from Spider-Man. He is Flash Thompson, the bully Flash Thompson in the original Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, and in interviews I've seen with Joey Mange, he is the biggest nerd. So he's one of those guys who's super buff and like plays D&D.
Mm-hmm.
There was a big Twitter thing that went viral where a UFC fighter was like, I don't play D&D, I'm not a wimp, and Joe Manganiello was like, I do. And it's stuff like that. Watch the trailer.
Sure. Next up, we have another piece of Star Trek media here. Andy, why don't you let the audience know what that is? I'm not a big Star Trek guy.
I'm not super big either. There is an animated show called Star Trek: The Lower Decks coming out that is about the most unimportant people on a Star Trek ship, right? It's about the people who are not on the bridge, and it is very much a comedy. There's a little teaser trailer that came out, and it feels a lot like Rick and Morty or Solar Opposites. Like Justin Roiland probably has his hands somewhere in the creative field of this movie or this series. I mean, if you like that kind of thing, that's great. It looks fun.
Yeah, I'm not interested in this. It takes a lot for me to watch a new animated, I watched Solar Opposites, but I don't think I would have watched that if we weren't in quarantine. Mm-hmm. I'm not as interested in these types of things as most people are. Moving on, we have a couple of Amazon Prime trailers. First, I want to mention that The Boys season 3 has been confirmed.
Your favorite, Ariel.
Oh gosh. I don't understand why this is so big. It's 2020, not 2000. But,
right.
I digress.
I will say it is good that Amazon seems to be just dumping money into geek stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it sells.
Yeah.
So,
did you watch either of these trailers, Ariel?
I watched Utopia. Oh, I watched both, actually. I watched both. So let's talk about the first one here. Truth Seekers, starring Nick Frost. And I know we have a bit of Simon Pegg. We don't know how much. We also know that he's in a terrible wig. Simon Pegg is second billing on the poster. So,
yeah. I mean, this is a team of part-time paranormal investigators doing a comedy. Like, this seems just like a full series of ghost facers from Supernatural.
Yeah. I really like the tone of it. I can't pinpoint what it like the theme music reminded me of something, and I can't figure out what it is. I love Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. I don't know how much I love them exercised from Edgar, or separated from Edgar Wright. But I'm encouraged. I'll watch this. I'm really interested in it.
Yeah. And it, it's only going to be 8 episodes for the first season. It does also feature like Malcolm McDowell, which is, I mean, Malcolm McDowell, fans will recognize from Clockwork Orange, probably. Malcolm McDowell's another one of those just faces who's everywhere.
Yeah, he's in a lot. He was like Get Smart. He was in.
Yeah, he has the most British voice of any like actor still working. It's. I think it'll be fun. He is something to do with this. I don't know. All I know is Nick Frost, Simon Pegg, and a cast of actors I'm not very familiar with, like Emma Darcy and Samson Kayo.
Yeah, I don't know them either. The director has done episodes. The Matt LeBlanc TV show. So we'll see. I'm encouraged. This looks fun. I think it'll be entertaining at the very least.
Yes, and very British.
Yeah. Next up, we have a TV show called Utopia, which mentions biological warfare, which is a little scary at this point in time. But apparently the original show this is based off of is about finding, like, these kids read this comic book, and the comic book predicts, or like people don't realize it right away, but the comic book predicted certain things that happened in history that the author would not have been able to know. And then a bunch of kids find the sequel to that comic book. They don't really mention that in the trailer, although you do see images of a comic book, but apparently, like, I was listening to another podcast talking about it. That's like one of the plots in this show.
Right. This is the original British show. I was told constantly, oh, you like Misfits, you need to watch Utopia.
Oh, okay.
I never got around to watching it, and then they were always going to make a American version, and this is finally it. In my circles, this has a lot of positive buzz. Apparently, also the British show ended on somewhat of a cliffhanger and never concluded. So,
oh, okay. So I'm interested to see how this is going to shake up. A lot of big names, big faces in Utopia. John Cusack, for one. But it looks, these two shows, Utopia and Truth Seekers, look very expensive, and we'll see how they end up. Next, we have a show coming out on Hulu on October. Is it this October 16th, Andy?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm excited. I had no idea this was coming out. It is go ahead.
This was one of those shows that they announced, and then Disney bought Fox, and it was just put into complete question.
Okay. But this show is Hellstrom. For those of you who don't know, Hellstrom is the last name of a pair of siblings in the Marvel universe. One traditionally is a superhero. One traditionally is a supervillain. We have Damon Hellstrom, who is the son of. Okay, this is a potential spoiler for the TV series. So if you don't want to know anything about this TV series going into it, I would fast forward maybe a couple of minutes. In the Marvel comic book universe, the Hellstrom siblings are the children of a human woman and a demon. You have Damon Hellstrom, who is a superhero who goes by Son of Satan. And then you have Anna Hellstrom, who goes by Satana. She's traditionally a supervillain. In the synopsis in Wikipedia that I've read and all the other things I'm reading, they are introduced as the children of a serial killer. And they are on the hunt for the worst of humanity and very, very, it is very clear that it's like supernatural demon stuff. Andy, what were your thoughts on this trailer?
I mean, it looks like a more serious version of Supernatural, right? There's a lot of like the family dynamic, a lot of the flashing, I mean, it's a trailer, so it's hard to decide, but it looks scary, man.
It also, did you notice a couple of Supernatural veterans in it?
I did not notice, but I would not be surprised.
We had, from what little I saw, there was an actress who had previously played a demon, and then there was an actor who played the Archangel Raphael in Supernatural. So it is just like, this reminds me a lot. I haven't seen the show, but the vibe reminds me a lot of Evil that came out on CBS last year.
Yeah, a little bit. And, people are really talking about how good that was.
Yeah. So I'm super interested in this. I think we'll definitely do an episode on it. Maybe even like a weekly recap for Hellstrom.
Yeah.
What's up next, Andy?
All right. So his Dark Materials Season 2 trailer, which features Lin-Manuel Miranda quite a bit.
Okay. Yeah. They're working on that. They're harping on that promotion.
Butts.
Yeah.
I mean, this looks good. I haven't read the books. The first season started out kind of rough, but it got very good. Very good.
Okay.
And this looks more of the same. I'm excited about this. I will definitely be watching it week to week. HBO, I mean, yeah. HBO, BBC, that's great for them. They get the Brits to take some of the financial risk, and we got this. I do know a big episode had to be cut due to the pandemic.
Okay.
That was announced as part of like one of the panels. A big episode focusing on James McAvoy had to be cut and would probably just be postponed until the next season due to pandemic.
It was cut from season 2.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Next up, we have another Tenet announcement, right? Not just another delay. Tenet is going to open internationally on August 26th. I think the date is. In the US, it is set to release on September 3rd. I do not think that is going to happen. I do think that a lot of people will get to see it overseas to make some of that money back. Andy, what do you think is going to happen with this precarious situation?
Oh, man. So this is going to be fun because when you say overseas, that movies that release overseas first, screeners and piracy is going to be rampant. And this is part of the fun of it, is that those screeners are not the way Nolan wants you to experience this movie. I'm so pessimistic about how we are going to handle the pandemic in the next months. Regal announced that they are reopening their cinemas on August 21st and that they will not require masks during movies. So that's smart, Regal. I end up thinking that they're going to have to just bite the bullet and release Tenet on VOD for like $25 for a weekend rental. Like they're going to have to do this. Otherwise, the movies will be available for long enough overseas for someone to get a good rip, and then piracy will ruin and tank its box office.
Right. If they keep holding out on the US audience because we're a tire fire, right? Or dumpster fire rather, then I think it's exactly what's going to happen. The people who want to see it most are going to pirate it. Maybe not, but a lot of people will pirate it, and because they did not release it on VOD, they're just not going to make money for it. And the spoilers will be out and people will talk about it. And the people who need to see it or wanted to see it to not be spoiled, right, will get spoiled.
Right. That's the real big problem here. Like, a Nolan movie is an event, whether you like him or not. It's an event. This movie has been hyped for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited. I do want to see this movie. I'm interested to watch it. But I'm not going to a movie theater to go see it, especially not on Labor Day weekend. No.
Agreed. It is frustrating. I also, do you think that people will go to the theater if they had already seen it on VOD?
I think there is a possibility when theaters actually reopen that Tenet is one of these big events. Maybe it won't be nearly as big, but I think most people, if you give them the choice between VOD and theater, and a theater's close enough, they'll go to the theater to watch it because that's an event. However, a lot of people are used now. They're used to watching action movies and big movies at home. Netflix with what is it? Extraction? Was that the Chris Hemsworth movie?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And The Old Guard, they are doing super well with action movies. I know I'm pretty happy with my movie theater-esque setup at home. I think that Hollywood really needs to look at this and say, okay, people aren't the movie theater isn't the same thing it used to be.
Yeah.
We might be able to run a movie theater and have some things do well. We might be able to make some money, but people don't want that. They want the convenience.
Yeah, I agree with you there. So we'll see what happens with Tenet. Nolan is not, this is not 2010 anymore, right? It's not 2011 where he's had The Dark Knight and Inception and he's on top of the world, right? His last few movies have been Interstellar, which was divisive. The Dark Knight Rises, which I think was a disappointment, and Dunkirk, which was not everyone's cup of tea. And so he went from like the string of unbelievable hits like Memento, Prestige, Batman, Inception to I'm not loving these, so I'm curious to see how he's going to bounce back.
Right. I do want to say I think with Tenet, Nolan really just wants it to be done so he can go on to the next thing. I really think that's the big pushing force, because a director, when you're releasing a movie, has to do the tour. He's got to do all this extra work. He wants this done so he can do something else.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I'm curious as to what his plans for future films are, but I'm not as supremely confident in his filmmaking as I was 10 years ago. Next up, we have a piece of news that did not get a trailer, but still is news. The Witcher follow-up will be a prequel set 1,200 years before the first series. This prequel, called The Witcher Blood Origin, will follow the creation of the first Witcher. Andy, what are your thoughts?
I mean, this just shows you how much of a hit The Witcher was for Netflix.
Yeah,
I think that that's the real takeaway here. It shows you that Netflix is like, oh, there's a lot of money here. Let's go full force. I watched the first episode of The Witcher. It was good. I want to watch the rest. I just haven't gotten around to it. I'm just so busy staying at home and watching other things.
Sure. I enjoyed it more or less. I don't think it's this great show that deserves all of this love. It's a mess. But yeah, I don't know. I saw a report that it was like the second most watched show last year, which to me is pretty wild.
Yeah, that's a little weird. I mean, I'm really happy for Henry Cavill that he's getting what he deserves because he's awesome. So Ariel, the big thing here, this is for me, my big takeaway, because I want the Wheel of Time series to be good.
Okay.
You have no idea how important it is to me that it is good and then it has the chance to end. With all this money, all these companies are dumping into these things, with how well they're being received, you have by consumers, not necessarily critics or you, like, you have the boys. I'm hoping that there's enough money put into the Wheel of Time that it's good. Like that is my real hope. They are really getting my hopes up on this. I was hoping to see some kind of trailer, but I think pandemic has delayed a little bit. I know they're filming in New Zealand, so they're going to be getting right back on that horse in just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm really hopeful.
Principal Photography started for the first season in September of last year, but in March was stalled due to the pandemic. So it did have about 6 months. I am curious. Amazon Prime, I mean, between Truth Seekers and Utopia and Wheel of Time and Invincible, you're right, Andy. They really are just pumping money into geekdom. So interesting.
And another thing that's kind of interesting, Ariel, this was a small bit of news. The Dragon Prince, the show done by the Avatar: The Last Airbender team.
Sure.
Netflix just said, hey, we're going ahead and confirming the entire, quote, saga. So they asked the creators, how many seasons do you need? They said, we have plans through season 7. Netflix said, okay, we will renew you for that.
Wow. Maybe I should watch. I mean, I watched first 4 or 5 episodes. Didn't quite capture me.
Well, I know the animation for the first season is said to be mediocre. It looked kind of bad. It looked like they were trying to they claimed they were trying to capture a less frames per second feeling of older animation, but they ended up fixing that in the later seasons.
Okay. All right.
But just the fact that like Amazon is going through with this, the fact that they went out and bought Korra to put on.
Right.
The Avatar: The Last Airbender was their big success this summer before the Old Guard. I think that bodes well for the live action Avatar.
Okay. We'll see. I'm curious as to what's going to happen here.
I should say it bodes well for it actually happening.
Okay, yeah.
Because there haven't been much news over the past 2 years about it. And I think Netflix is like, okay, yeah, we need to start investing in creators. We need to start pumping money into their projects. We also have Guillermo del Toro's trailer for Guillermo del Toro's final quote unquote series in the Troll Hunter universe, Wizards.
Yes, it looks like with Wizards, a lot of the main cast characters rather are coming back.
Yeah. That's great. I've always been under the impression that it was a kind of a Avengers style meetup of everyone, and it seems to be shaping up to that. That's great. Mark Hamill, again, he's great, and he's one of the main people in this show, apparently.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Last piece of news is Emmy nominations have come out, and we have a couple of shows that are in our wheelhouse with The Mandalorian and Watchmen. Watchmen picked up 26 Emmy nominations. I think the shine off of Watchmen has come off a little bit for me, but it is still a very well made show.
Right. And a lot of the Emmy nominations for it were in the technical aspects.
Yeah, those are deserved for sure.
Yes, absolutely. The acting roles, Regina King and Jeremy Irons were nominated, which are great. I'm perfectly fine with them being nominated. I really wish we would have gotten a Gene Smart nomination, but that's great. What's weird about The Mandalorian, though, is what it was nominated for.
Sure, it was nominated for Best Drama.
Yeah, Best Drama. Yeah. The other one that I do want to give just a little nod to, What We Do in the Shadows was nominated for Best Comedy.
Huh, I need to watch season 2. I haven't watched that yet.
Season 2 is so much better than season 1, and season 1 was already like high up there.
Right. Yeah, So what the Mandalorian nomination for Best Drama, you know what it smells like to me, Andy? When a movie about movies wins Best Picture. The Mandalorian is essentially a love letter to old classic Western TV.
See, I think they wanted to give Disney Plus something.
Okay, that's part of it too. They definitely campaigned for it.
Yeah,
behind the scenes,
yeah. And I think there's a lot of moments in The Mandalorian that are very good. I do not think it deserves Best Drama. But cool. I'm happy for Star Wars in general that they got this recognition.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm happy with that. Game of Thrones got nothing. I don't think they were eligible for anything, but this is finally the end of Game of Thrones. The
nosedive that show took in terms of cultural awareness and cultural headspace, it's incredible how the finale comes out. We all hated it for 3 months, and then we were just like, you know what? We don't need to ever watch this again. And in a time where everyone is going back and rewatching their favorite shows over and over and over again, I have not met a single person who said, I'm going to go back and rewatch Game of Thrones.
Yeah. I mean, I'm regretting the fact that I own the first 6 seasons on Blu-ray in the Best Buy exclusive case.
And you were so ready to go for the next year.
I was so ready for 7 and 8. Right, the art on these Best Buy exclusive cases was so cool, and I would go out on release day every year because for the first 5 years they did not release anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And you always had to choose between 2 different cases, right? They had the symbol of one of the houses on them, so I had to be there opening day to get it. Yeah, and I'm so upset that I have 6 seasons of Game of Thrones.
Right.
And maybe I'll just pretend many fans that was it.
Yeah. Okay, that is all we have for news this week. Why don't we get into homework? Andy, what do you got?
Homework. Well, on HBO Max, there is a wonderful, wonderful, and weird show called Search Party.
Okay, I've heard things about it.
Yes, it is weird. The first season of Search Party is hipster millennial Nancy Drew.
Okay.
The second season is hipster millennial Hitchcock. And I can't tell you what the third season would be because that'd be a massive spoiler. But it is well crafted. It is beautiful. It is so funny. And it just hates this specific culture of millennials so much, and it just feels so right to watch this. Please give it a shot. It is not for everyone, but it is very interesting. It has a lot of great comedy. You will laugh out loud as long as you like dark comedy. It starts with a young girl finding out that one of her college friends went missing, and she sees how superficial everyone is about dealing with the fact that this girl is missing. And she takes it upon herself to try and find out what happened. And I will tell you, she does find out what happened at the near the end of season 1, and it is one of the most satisfying explanations for a mystery I have ever seen.
All right, that's Search Party on HBO Max?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. It was on TBS, but it's on HBO Max.
All right. My homework this week, I went on Steam and I decided to get an old game that I was not ready for when it came out, but I'm ready for now with my endless amounts of free time. I bought Fallout New Vegas. And I didn't want to get it because I had played Fallout 3 to exhaustion. But this is only half the recommend. The other recommend is if you have a game that you know and love that came out on console and is now on PC, I suggest, if you are a PC gamer and you don't do this, to go to Nexus Mods and find out how the community has improved some of your favorite games. I spent about 2 hours this morning modding the crap out of Fallout New Vegas, and it feels like a different game. So my homework is to go on YouTube and see if your favorite PC game has mods that have been developed by the community.
Right. I will say with Nexus Mods, they make installing the mods really easy. You do have to sign up. You don't have to pay anything.
Right.
But it's great. If you are one of the people like me who played Witcher and hated, I do not like the card game Gwent. Well, there's a beautiful mod in both Witcher 2 and Witcher 3 where you just press a button to win whatever the mediocre side game is. And it made Witcher 3 so much better for me.
Oh, I might do that. Wow. I might do that.
Yeah. It's great because you just press a button on the keyboard and you win, but you still get the characters, they're losing thing. They're like, "Oh, you played such a good game." And you're like, "Uh-huh. Yep, I did. Give me my money."
All right. That's all we have for today, Andy. Where can people find you online?
You can find me online on Twitter and Letterboxd at Hebrews Pale Ale.
Or you can find me at Portly Island Boy. You can find us at Geek 101 Podcast on Twitter and Facebook. Email us geek101pod@gmail.com. That's all we have for today. Class dismissed.